So, I welcome everyone on board. I welcome you guys on board. This is the first session of our 3D product animation class. Just to emphasize, we are specifically focusing on 3D product animation. This is the first day of our class, and what's on our syllabus is what you need to know about 3D product animation, overview, process, and prospect. The reason for actually starting our 3D animation series with this topic is because I believe that you only get to appreciate what you're learning if you actually know its potentials, if you know its prospects. It's possible to have a skill, but if you don't know what you can actually use the skill to do, then it might just be redundant or you might not get to use it for something. I want you guys to know the opportunities in this, and so you don't just feel that you are learning it for learning sake. There's much you can actually gain from it. There is a large pool of career opportunities in this particular field. So I want us to talk about 3D product animation. Let's get to know what it is. I think it's a field when it comes to animation, what most people know and are passionate about is character animation. But this is a field that I believe has so much potential. There are very big agencies out there who focus on just this, and they are making a whole lot of money. They are dealing with the top brands in the world like Apple, Nike, Adidas, and all those top brands there. And what they specialize is in this. There are also people who focus on this, freelancers, 3D product animators who focus on this, who have nothing to do with character animation. So I'm not saying this to dissuade you or to put down character animation. It's actually a very beautiful field, but I'm just trying to say this is one area that I feel is underexplored, especially in this part of the world. Not much light has been put to it, and I feel that is also why there will be many opportunities for you in it. So, of course, this video is going to be up on YouTube, so I'm going to have audiences listening from different part of the world. So, of course, when I say this part of the world, I mean Nigeria specifically. Yes, so I'm going to be your tutor. My name is David. Like I said earlier on, you can call me Devo. And I have about 7 years of experience in 3D animation. I've explored many areas, out of the initial curiosity that, many artists or animators start with. One of these areas I explored for a long time, for let's say about 2 years, is virtual fashion, which actually falls under product animation. We are going to talk about that later on. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of some of the works I've done. Then we dive right into business. So yes, this is the virtual fashion, some of the virtual fashion works I've done. That's one area I've explored. And another thing which I'm very passionate about, I will call it conceptualization. So I enjoy just creating stuff. I enjoy creating words that are non-existent. I enjoy sci-fi kind of stuff. This just shows a little bit of some of the recent work. Yeah, and then back to, should I say, the business, the purpose for this class. I think I have a sort of product animation show reel, although it's combined. I have a few other types of work combined in it. Yes, like I said earlier on, what we are going to be focusing on for this particular class is 3D product animation. Yes, this is a showreel of some of the works I've done in that regard. Was intentional about crafting the syllabus, the topics we are going to be doing for this class. We have 24 classes. Initially, I was almost thinking that they are not enough. Yes, and when you want to do things like character animation, you see some schools will tell you like 8 months to do all of that, and which is understandable. I believe if you are going to gain expertise, or if you are going to be taught to a level of expertise in any craft, then we will need to dissect things together. That way you don't just end up being average. However, for the first part of our class, like I already said, I want you to be baptized into what 3D product animation is. I want you to know what career opportunities are there. I want you to know what studios you should be following and all of that. So yeah, you have seen some of the things I've shown you, and I would like by speaking about what 3D product animation is. What is 3D product animation? This is what I've defined it as. 3D product animation is the art of creating a 3D digital representation of a physical product or service using a 3D animation software for the purpose of advertising, describing, or showcasing that product or service. It involves giving life to and telling the story of a product or service. Yes. So from this definition, you understand that there are some key things that we do here. We are creating a digital representation of a physical product or service. Now, I said product or service. A lot of time when it comes to 3D product animation, everybody feels that, or everybody thinks that it's all about products. It's all about physical products. No. But over the years, I've realized that a very major area of 3D animation is its service. You can actually carry out 3D product animation. I think you won't call it 3D service animation because generally it is called 3D product animation. But their service branch, you can actually create this, especially in the line of digital service brands. Like any of you could probably, after this whole class, you could actually get contracts from banks, from fintech institutions, even from other services that don't concern technology and all of that. It's all about being able to create digital representations. It's about digital portrayals. It's about creativity. Now, let me show you a simple example. So I want to dissect this definition for you so you can actually have a better understanding of what we are doing here. Okay, so let me see. Okay, yes. So this is an example now of a service brand. This is an example of a service brand, so you can understand what I mean by service.
Put it back together. Got my head. Got my head. Put
All right. So I showed you that to help you understand that product animation transcends, just showing a particular product, and all of that. You can sell services with product animation. Okay, this is one that I couldn't get the actual video, so I just did the screenshot. Okay, let's let's watch this before we resume the class. All right. Yeah, so back to what I was saying. I said you are either creating digital representation of a physical product or a service using a 3D animation software. Okay, let's look at one example of a physical product. Now, this is one of my best 3D product animation I've seen out there. So I think I'm just going to play it. So, digital representation of a physical product or service using a 3D animation software for the purpose of either advertising, you're trying to advertise the product, you want it. You know what I love about 3D animation, let me speak a little bit about advertising, is that sometimes you might see an advert and it is just so sweet that you might not, of course, which is the purpose of advertising. You might not even be interested in that product, but the way it gives life to that particular product, the way it brings a different dimension makes it even more beautiful than when you actually get that product in real life. It's one of the amusing or the amazing factors about using 3D product animation. So you can use it for advertising your product to potential consumers. You can use it for describing in the sense of showing how it works. Or you can use it for just showcasing. Maybe you want to do a visualization. You want to probably show a prospective investor a particular product that is still in the making and all of that. So now I said digital representation of. Okay, somebody wants to join the meeting. All right, you're welcome on board, Miss Chidima. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead with the class. Yeah. So yes, I was speaking about the fact that either for the purpose of advertising, describing, or showcasing that product or service. Now I went ahead to say it involves giving life to and telling the story of a product or animation. Now I put this particular statement there because I've discovered that one of the best way for you to actually give life to or to actually carry out product animation is to give life to that product. Now, for character animation, you give life to a character, right? You make it move, do what you want to do. But then for product animation, I feel making it feel humane, giving it some sense of sentience. Okay, let me see if I can show one of my works, and so you can understand what I'm talking about in this place. So let me show this work for Yuto Mini. Maybe just a particular place. Okay, so I want you to observe this. Okay, somebody raising up. Please, if you can't hear me, you can also, just please signify. So you see that for this particular starting point of this product animation. Okay, so this is just the part I want you to see. You will notice how this is standing here, and you see that suddenly it's as if it becomes alive. When you talk, the meaning of animate, I think it's a Latin word, which means, is it Latin? I think it's Latin, which means to give soul to something. So if you say, oh, to animate, it means to give life. So this is a product, for instance, and by the time it's static at first, and then as soon as it absorbs life, you can see that it starts to move. It drops on its own and it starts to rotate as if it has life. Now, let me show you another good example, maybe based on a few other of the works I've done. Okay. This is the part I want you to see. Of course, you are not going to see a Game Boy rotating this way. This is not a Game Boy. This is called analog pocket. But you are not going to see a game rotating this way. But when you give life to it, you can see the way it's moving, as if it's actually alive and as if it's trying to pass a message. Of course, in this particular animation yet, we are trying to showcase the different types of cartridge. So for each rotation, there is a new type of cartridge. So you can see. So animate means to give life to something, to tell the story of something, to make it feel alive. You understand? So you are making it either float, make it do whatever you want. It's your canvas. The thing about animation is that you can tell whatever story you want to tell, be it with characters or be it with a product. So I'm just going to go ahead. So like I said, it involves giving life to and telling the story of a product or service. Now let's go to the next phase, the process of making a 3D product animation. So before I go into this phase, I think I would like us to have a little discussion here. So can anyone tell me how they think? Like, you have seen some of the animations I've showed you. So can you just give me an idea? Like, how do you think these things have been created? It doesn't have to be long. Just give me a short example of how you think product animations are being made. So please, anyone can take the mic. But if anyone doesn't take the mic quickly, I'm just going to call somebody. So there is no wrong answer in this class. And I think we get to learn when we contribute. We share idea and knowledge with each other. So this is going to take the stage. Anyone, please. How do you think 3D product animations are being made? Okay, so someone is taking up his mic. Okay, Chidima. All right, please go ahead. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the ways that you can bring a character or bring an object to life is by changing poses of the objects in a given time, or like in frames, changing it every second, or rather FPS. So every a frame, different frames when they are put side by side, even if it's just two poses. That's one way to create movement in an object.
Round of applause. You guys should be clapping, even though you are not opening your mic, because she actually gave a very good answer. Thank you very much for that answer, Chidima. You're right. You can clap with emojis. Nice. Thank you. She deserves it. Okay, yes. So basically, what do you call animation? Animation is simply creating the illusion of life, right? By placing, you can say by manipulating images, or you can say by placing rapid sequences of images. So animation is basically when you move images together. So that's the animation process itself. So she's very right. So one of the ways we create product animation is by changing the pose. Something is up at a particular time. The next time you see it is down. It has passed the message that way. You understand? So thank you very much for that answer, Chidima. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. So because of time. Now, I want to speak about the process of making a 3D product animation. And before I go ahead, I'm just going to show one of the 3D product animation I made. The truth is that this is a conceptual brand. Sometimes I do graphic design work. Yeah. Well, I don't call myself a graphic designer, but I have a background in it. It's part of the things I started with. So all of this, this particular brand was brought to life by, I designed the logo, designed everything, and I want to show you how this works. Thank you. So this was, of course, this was made with Cinema 4D. Now, what is the process of making a 3D product animation? I divided the stages into pre-production phase, production phase, and post-production phase. And it's basically almost the same thing with even character animation, where you have the pre-production phase, production phase, and post-production phase. Of course, the particular things you do would be different. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with the pre-production phase. Now, as I take you through these things, and I want you guys to actually learn with the mindset that you are going to be working for clients. In the sense that understanding these things, the fundamentals at this point would help you work with clients. Because if you don't have a structure for working or for creating 3D product animation, it will cause a lot of issues. And I'm also going to be giving you some tips in dealing with clients, because being a good or succeeding in the field of product animation is beyond just being a 3D product, being skilled in the software. You also need to know how to negotiate or to discuss or how to communicate with clients, how to handle I won't call it complexities now of 3D product animation. Of course, if you have experience in animation, you know how much time it takes to render. So you don't want to do a work and then you finish, give it, maybe you use 1 week to render, and you give the client, and the client now says, no, this is not what I wanted. And I say, you've already spent so much time in all of that process. So I'm going to give you some tips. This is not, I love graphic designers, in case anyone. Lillian is a graphic designer. So let me not say what I wanted to say, because it will cause more beef. But what I just wanted to say is that, no, I said I won't say it. Let me say it with style. So this is not graphic design that you might be able to finish in 1 or 2 days. You are factoring in your rendering time. So you need to be very calculative if you are going to be working with clients. This is a lesson I learned over time, and I believe you might actually gain this experience personally. You need to be very cautious. You are speaking with clients, for instance, maybe you are factoring time. You factor the time you are going to use to work. You also need to factor the time you are going to use to render. You also need to factor things like revision. You also need to factor things in that you are not giving the final render. That's what we call play blast, or maybe just a simple preview. Because your final render is always costly most of the time. So you are not. How do you carry client along? I'm going to check the syllabus if there is a particular place where I maybe business discussion and all of that, in dealing with clients and all of that. But let's start. Pre-production phase. Establish idea. The first thing you need to do when creating a 3D product animation is that you need to establish your idea. This is very important, because you don't want to. I'm a very big fan of research and development. As you can see, there is research and development. Part of the process is here, which we'll still speak about. But let's say you want to do a project for a client. You need to know what you are doing. What idea am I putting down? What is the unique selling point of this product? What feature of this particular product am I selling? Exactly. So know what you are doing to avoid back and forth. See, before you get on your computer, sometimes get on your book, take your pen. I think you are somebody that prefers writing. I enjoy writing to typing, because I don't like sometimes too much of light. You just need that quietness and that natural feel of actually writing. So write down the ideas you are trying to sell. Now, the idea you are going to be trying to propose, many of the times when you are working with the client will tell you what to do. And I think that is the best, because that will help you in your revision and say, this is what you asked me to do. But there are some other clients that will say, okay, I want you to use your creativity to serve this. And this type of clients, of course, you need to be cautious, because the word creativity is very wide. Yeah, so what is creative to you might not be creative to the client. So you need to be able to actually create the idea and first present it to the client, instead of just going into your computer. I have this very cool thing I want to do. Establish your idea. What feature of the product are you selling? What part of the product? How do I want to sell it? Now, scripts. This script is core. It's almost like the structure or pillar that holds things down between you and the client. Because when you want to, I'll give you a negotiating tip or a communication tip with clients. Now, because of clients, some clients could be very funny. Both of you would agree that this is what we are going to do. Then you submit it, and the client now says, "Oh, this is not what I was asking about. Oh, what I meant was this." Then what you do is that, okay, you show the client the script, and you say, "This is the script that has been agreed on." And that is why you, as an artist, you must, of course, you need your creative license to be flexible. But then most of the things you do, if you want to avoid issues, sometimes you need to be within the construct of the script. The reasons why clients pay us many times, of course, they want us to be, why you are unique as an artist is because of the creative expressions you can take, when dealing with product animation and whatsoever. So of course you can, there might be some things you might not even be able to write in script, but as much as possible, whatever is being able to, you can write on script, you put it down. So you tell the client, say, you can even put it in the contract, of course, which is important before you start a business, that in this agreement, the script is going to be what will be used to guide the revision. So any script, any correction that is outside this written script might cost these extra expenses, or you might be able to say, I either have the choice of going ahead with the work or not if there is something outside the script, or you might be able to now say each revision outside the script will cost this amount of money. Those are some of the negotiation factors you need to be cautious with. I'm sorry if like I said, this video is going to be out and people are going to see it. I know I might make you. I'm not trying to train you to be obstinate creatives. I'm not trying to train you to be stubborn creatives that will be fighting with clients. But I also want you to be able to protect yourself, because I've seen many things from experience, and that's why you need to be able to protect yourself. One of the books I would recommend is Win Without Pitching. If somebody perhaps could send me a reminder after this class, I can probably put out the book on the group chat. But I think it's something you should be able to get online too. Win Without Pitching. It will give you an idea on how to negotiate with clients. Now, I think maybe I should calm down with the client aspect and focus on what we are supposed to do here, because we are supposed to just talk about the actual process of production. So research and development. Research similar works, experiment to find efficient techniques to execute projects. As we embark on this journey, and as we subsequently build a studio, as we subsequently grow a studio together, one of our culture is going to be research and development. Research and development is very important. It's very important because that is how you grow. I know one of the studios that I really look up to is Man vs. Machine, and I was watching one of their tutorials one time, just like not tutorial per se, where they were just speaking about their workflow, and they said they have a folder, I think they call it dailies, and in that dailies that is just for R&D, where they just throw in rubbish that they do. So research and development is playing around. Like, you don't have to be so serious every time you get onto your computer and say, okay, this is the direction we are going, and you just start doing. Sometimes play around, mix this particular homograph tool with this one, mix this, say, oh, what if I move this way? What if I try this? Like, I believe that you have what you want to do in your mind, right? But sometimes your ideas could be limited. The way you are able to break barriers of limited ideas is just by trying new things. You understand? So even when we are not doing client work, you should embrace the culture of research and develop. Let me just see. If something comes to your mind though, and just say, okay, what if I try this like this, try this, that. Embrace that culture. That's how you can grow. That's how you can create things that have not even been created in any tutorial. That's how you can stand out and even develop perhaps your style and your workflow. So research and development, and in regards of carrying out a 3D product animation work, research and development will mean that, okay, this is the idea we have, this is the script. What are the different ways we can experiment this? Now we are supposed to be 6 in this class, if I'm right. So for instance, we can say, okay, everybody just go and do something. Everybody go and play. In fact, maybe a better word for research and development is playtime. Let's just go and play, have fun. Let's see what we can come up with. We know this is what we want to do, but let's see the different ways. And then you see that everybody just starts bringing out unique things. Because of we are not stringent in our direction at first, and did not say everybody must do this, everybody must use the cloner tool to create this, everybody must take this direction. Next is the storyboard phase. Now storyboard is almost equal to, or I would say it's almost on the same line with script. Well, for when you work with big brands, when you work with very big brands, I think sometimes storyboard is always good. In story, I did a little bit of storyboarding for this work I just showed you now. This fresh fruit work, where you just, if you are good as an artist, you can actually, your storyboard does not have to be so clean. And I wish I can zoom this. Okay, let me just go ahead. Your storyboard does not have to be so clean, but it gives you an idea of what angle, what sort of composition am I using. There was a time I was working on one particular project. I think I can show you maybe very quickly. Let me show you the project. This particular shot. Now, I was having difficulties, like how do I put all these guys together on this table and make it look aesthetic? How do I make it look really nice? I was, export this. How do I maintain balance with the different objects in the scene? And it was not till I picked out my drawing book and just drew and said, okay, probably if there is a flower vase here and this creates some sort of balance, and maybe something here. I was able to draw things out, and by the time I drew it out, I was able to have a better direction. So being able to, do a storyboard actually helps you out. Now, if you're working with big clients, you might actually want to get a more professional storyboard artist. You might want to get people who specialize in drawing. You do that for character animation. That one is even important in character animation because you don't want to finish everything and then client starts doing the whole back and forth. So it's a series of drawings showing how the animation advert will unfold shot by shot. So you either get a professional, it saves you time, and it can also be a guide when you are dealing with clients that, I already showed you that this is what this particular shot is going to be like, and we are cool with this. Then another thing is mood board. Mood board is also very important. Mood board is a collage of materials that give a view into the style of art that you'll be using. Art is very wide. I was speaking with a client recently. Subsequently, the agreement didn't go ahead, and it's a, what do they call it? A sort of, is it logistics? Let me just call it logistics in a way. And I was supposed to create an ad for them, but for that particular ad now, I could have used the realistic cartoon style, or I could also use a realistic rendering. The way things work now. There are different styles of animation. So your mood board actually sets your client in the right mindset. It's because your client might eventually say, no, I don't want it to be stylized. I actually want hyper realistic. And then you have gone with the stylized direction. Your client might say, no, I don't want bright colors. I want solemn black and white because of our brand is white. Then you might have, and then you went to go and use probably bright colors. So your mood board, before you start working, it's always helpful to say, okay, this is the direction that I'm going to be working with. Now let me give you one very good trick for storyboarding and mood board. Now, I told you that you can draw out whatever you want to do, and of course you can get references from stuff like Pinterest and all of that. But when you are working with storyboard and mood board, I'm saying this now, let's say you want to start a job with the client. What you can do is that, okay, this is a two-way advice. It's either good or bad. Now, of course, you don't want to start work if client has not made commitment to you, because you don't want to just be experimenting for clients for any reason when they have not showed any sort of seriousness. You now finish, you now say they are not willing. But let's say they have made some commitment and you are already discussing. What you can do is that if you have the product modeled, you can actually do some renders. Maybe you can just play, not too serious. That's not going to be your final scene. But to create a storyboard, maybe you don't know how to draw. You can say, okay, you take the product and you just put the product in different scenes. Nothing too serious. You can even use shapes to form the environment of the product and just say, okay, this is my storyboard. This is how this is going to look like. That way, you and the client would be on the same phase. So the whole purpose of the pre-production phase is just to, number one, to see that you have a clear direction of what you want to do to avoid wastage of time. Number two, it allows you and the client to see that you are in the same direction. It allows you and the client to see that you are in the same flow and the same direction of work. Production phase. I'm going to go through this phase very quickly because I tend to enjoy myself too much sometimes while teaching that I lost consciousness of time. So I'm going to be more fast fast. I believe this video is going to be out, so you can actually have a recap of it. 3D modeling and 3D scanning. Now, let's do it this way. I showed you an advert, and let's say we are a studio. Or that's a studio. Now, the client comes to meet us and says, okay, let's start the client pays good amount of money. Maybe we negotiate, and the client finally gives us amount of money that we are very happy about. We have done the pre-production phase. How do we start creating the work? Now, many big clients already have 3D models. I think it's most times in CAD format. They'll give you the CAD file. They have 3D models of their product. But most of the times, or let me say 50, I don't actually know the exact amount of time, but many times clients might not have the 3D models. So you might have to be the one to model the product. You see, that was why if you look at the syllabus we are doing, you see that I spend about maybe 4 classes on modeling, because I feel that being able to model a product is part of the essentials of creating good product animation. Once you can model a good product, right, do a good work with your modeling, like you're almost done, because you see a simple render that there is not so much done to it, maybe just with simple lighting. Once you can do the actual modeling of the product, give it the details. Look at this now. Give it the details it deserves. Then you have gone a long way in that product. You can see the details. Being able to pay attention to details. So one of the skills I want you to actually specialize in is that you should be able to model your product. But many times you might not be the one to model your product. There are people who actually specialize in 3D modeling, so you can actually consult them. 3D animation is not usually a work that is done alone, but I'm training you people to be both freelancers and to work as studio personnel. You understand? I could have just gone straight into the animation aspect, but I want you to be able to stand alone. So eventually, if maybe while you are starting to set your feet up, a client comes to you and they want to create a full animation, a full product animation, you should be able to model the product. So modeling your product in your 3D software. Now I put 3D scanning because I want you guys to be aware of the current technology that we have right now. It's not only through modeling that you can you can create a digital representation of a product. There is scanning. And in fact, if you have an iPhone, you can already start doing some scanning effects. Not just iPhone, I believe. I just know for iPhone, but I believe there will be software for Android. I think there's one software called Luma AI, which I was experimenting. So I was saying that 3D scanning, and that's part of the reasons why I said research and development is important. Let me say this. As you are starting your journey as a 3D artist, please explore. It's good to do client works, but also do the type of works that you enjoy. You understand? Okay. I think I'm receiving a message. Let me off my WhatsApp so I don't get distracted. And let me also see that my OBS is ongoing. Okay, thank you. I think I'm set. So please do the works you enjoy, works that actually allow you to experiment. I just remember this 3D scanning now. So maybe you want to actually do a work that will allow you to actually do a scan. I'm hearing some background noise.
Sorry, it's me. I was trying to remind you to record. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry. 3D scanning. Like I said, 3D modeling and 3D scanning. Texturing. The process of texturing is using 2D image to wrap or cover your 3D model to get your desired visual look. We are going to have a class specialized on texturing. Animation. While this is called, the whole class is called about 3D product animation. And just like the way you call it, you see an animation movie and they call it animation. So, but even in that animation, there are different aspects like modeling, texturing, and all of that. So animation, 3D animation is just the general name, but under animation, there are other aspects. Animation is in itself is the act of applying motion, creating movement in your 3D space. So there is also 3D motion graphics, where you add abstract objects, shapes, or text, which is something Cinema 4D is very good with, creating apps. Sometimes you can tell a full 3D product animation without showing the product itself. You can just tell the story with abstract and with text. It's all about creativity. And we are going to be doing a little bit of, I would have loved to teach you After Effects, but I might resort into Premiere Pro for text effect, because when you see some of the works I've done, you see that for most of them I always infuse text to tell the story. Text is usually very good when you don't have what do they call it, when you don't have voiceover. But if you are doing the voiceover, if you have the voiceover doing the work, you don't need to bother much about text. You can see this is text telling the story, and that's because everything you have seen me do, there is no voiceover, so I have to resort into using text. But that process is called 3D motion graphics. You can do that process either in Cinema 4D or you can do it in post-production. Now, simulation is part of the very interesting aspect too, where you create natural elements, water, smoke, realistic clothes, fire, all of that. Cinema 4D is very good with all of that too. So I think this is basically the production phase. Yes, you have music. I'm learning from experience. I'm still experimenting that. Having music at the beginning of your product animation is very good. In fact, when I want to think about the work, I first download my music and sometimes I plug my headset and I just start to listen to my music. As I'm listening to my music, I travel in my imagination. I allow the music take me on a ride. So as I'm listening to the music, I'm writing down my shots, my animation shots. So your music can give life to your story. So many artists like to finish their work and put music, which is good. But if you see some of the works I've done, you see that many times the work rhymes with the music. It drops with the music. That's because I have the music at. Let me quickly show you this. One scene, one shot. What I just want to show you is this 2 beat. You listen to the beat as it lands. You see that the beat hits the motion. As it slows down, there is this beat. So 1, 2. Do you understand? This is only possible. This was achieved because while creating the animation, I imported the music into the software. So I was able to create the animation alongside the music. So of course there are different ways of doing things, but I just think it's best to have your music. It allows, and product animation flies. In fact, it's very much balances on music. Music is very important. Once your music is able to rhyme with your bass, able to rhyme with your animation is able to rhyme with your beat, with your tone, it makes your work look so much more better. So having music in production phase is something I would advise. Then lighting is another very interesting aspect. You can tell stories with lighting. You can make your work look much more interesting with lighting. We have classes focused on lighting. And rendering is where you actually now bring out the video of your work or images. Of course, the videos are created from image sequence, but rendering is the process where you generate the 2D images from your 3D scene or model. You understand? So rendering is very important, and is one aspect that we would delve into much more. Then post-production phase, compositing. They use video or picture editing software to compose rendered image. Many times you don't just take what you have rendered out from your 3D product animation and post it on the internet. That is very rare, and in fact sometimes it's not advisable. If you're an expert, maybe you have experience in video editing, you know that you need to still do some other things. You need to scale in. Sometimes you might even need to slow down the actual animation you have done. You might need to make it faster. You might need to cut. See, you might render out a lot of scenes in your work, but at the end of the day, you see that you might actually have to cut out some parts, because your product animation is something that requires you being very smart. Your work has to look smart. So any part that you see that is making your work lag or is not giving you that blend you want with the music, you have to clean all of that up in post-production. And you can also do some of that in compositing phase. So you have your color correction. You can do some visual effects work too in compositing. I'm just mentioning that. You can do your color correction where you edit your colors, maybe with DaVinci Resolve, Premiere Pro, After Effects, using Lumetri color. You have color grading. Maybe you want to get maybe some particular type of atmosphere or emotions. You have sound, music, or voiceover, and that's what I said. So you can have music in your your production phase. You can also have music in your post-production phase. Now, you have some sound effects like swoosh, like bang, when something lands on the floor, bang. You have some sound effect like all those little sound effects. There are things you can do in your post-production. So sound effects makes your work look more realistic. It allows people to connect the actions more together. So you can add all of that in post-production. You also have feedback. It is a good idea to have most of your reviews with client during the production phase, as correction after final render could be tedious. I already mentioned this. You don't want to finish rendering your work and now give it to client, especially when it will take you 2 weeks. You do your final render, you render it at high resolution. It could take weeks, especially if you are a freelance artist and your laptop is not so powerful yet. So as you are working, in fact, just let the client know that, see, this is the preview stage. This is not how it's going to look in the final render, but the final rendering stage takes a lot of time. So I'm showing you this so that all adjustments could be made before we get to that phase. Career opportunities for 3D product animators. I'm going to go quick through this phase. I wanted to explain and delve deep into this, but there is no longer time. So I'm just going to go through this phase. Now, when it comes to animation, many people are always like, I'm learning animation. When you ask them what aspect do you want to learn, they will tell you that they are learning character animation. Character animation is very good. It's much recommended, but I just want to say there are other aspects of animation that you can explore and you can still succeed in. In fact, beyond exploring, you can also specialize in some other aspects, and you are definitely going to succeed in it. Now, are there career opportunities? Can you make money? Can you build a career out of 3D product animation? Can you pay your house rent? Can you pay your school fees? Can you do all of that from this particular skill? Yes, the simple answer is yes. I prepared some things to explain to you, but I'm going to skip through all of that explanation because of time. So, of course, advertising is one of the aspects. Every business, every product. So this should be your mindset effort. Every business you see has a product or service to offer. Now, of course, there are different ways and if you want to make money, you definitely need to take your product, your customer or your consumer has to be able to see your product, right? That's where advertising comes in. You need to be able to advertise your product to your consumer. Now, there are different ways you can advertise your product, but the thing with advertising is that you can actually shoot a real life video or you can use animation. Sometimes shooting a real life video could be limiting. It is great. Using a real life video, you might be able to convey emotions in a way, people can be able to relate to a large extent. When they see humans, you can depict some certain emotions. But when you actually want to talk more about the product itself, when you want to actually dissect the feelings of the product, it's a good idea to use product. You want to show that the product is made out of rock. You want to make sure that it is made out of the best thread. You might not be able to achieve some of those things using video animation. Real life video shooting, and that's the aspect where 3D product animation starts to shine. So I have some of the videos I've created. Let me see one that I can quickly play to explain what I'm talking about. Okay, maybe I can play this. Maybe this tells a little bit of a story. Look at this, for instance, now. One animation I love too. The reason why I showed you this is that, of course, you can achieve this. Maybe if you take a fan, these guys could be very creative. Special effects guys, I think it's special effect it is called. You can take a fan. There will always be ways, but that might be really difficult to achieve in real life. But with product animation, you can really dissect. There's so much you can do in terms of advertising. You might want to show that the product is being made from thread. You might want to show that the product is being made from this one. Even when we look at look at something like this now. It will be boring if you try to do this type of thing with with maybe you are shooting the screen, or you are just like shooting a video of the screen and showing this thing. It is more interactive this way. So there is a time for 3D product animation to shine, and it's when you actually want to dissect the product, when you want to tell the story of the product, and you want to go beyond the emotions. Of course, you can achieve emotions, you can touch people's emotions with product animation, but of course, in advertising, when you want to showcase the in-depth features of the product, 3D product animation works well. Now, product design and prototyping. I was having a conversation with a client recently, or I'm having a conversation with the client right now, and the client is talking about he wants to create, different types, new concepts of phone cases. Some of the ideas are not yet on ground, and usually, of course, a product designer's work will be to draw these things out, sketch it. And I was having a conversation with him, and I said, what you're trying to create, everything can be conceptualized using 3D in 3D animation, using a 3D modeling software. You understand? And it can also be edited. Maybe, of course, it might not be as easy or straightforward as when you are drawing it up. It can be edited. If you say, okay, I want this to be at this back, you can do that. And you are conscious of your base model, so that you are able to edit. Maybe the client makes changes. So you can do product design with this skill. You can be in a company where they are into manufacturing, and you can be in charge of actually the product is not yet alive, but you are using your mind to create it. In fact, maybe you have a friend that is thinking of a product. Maybe he wants to create a drink and is thinking of the best package for the drink, maybe the best bottle. So you can experiment, put the logo on it and say, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? Do you understand? There's also the factor of prototyping. Prototyping is when probably you want to show investors. You have a new product and there are investors on ground, but you don't yet have the money to actually create that product physically. That's where product modeling comes into play again. That's where it takes to shine again. You create an hyper realistic version of that product. The investor doesn't even know that this product doesn't exist yet. This could also be useful in terms of, let's say you are producing product and you just want to make the first physical product, but you want to send something to the manufacturers. So you can actually use 3D product modeling to create that design. There's CGI product video advertising. You can see that's what's raining. It's something that is raining a lot right now. There's CGI photography. You see a lot of product animation or product photography created using 3D animation. You can't even tell that, okay, this is not, you can't differentiate because it's so realistic. You understand? So this is, of course, the stage we are going to get to in this class. We are going to be exploring it's one of the classes, creating CGI photography. So augmented reality and virtual reality, these are areas that are becoming more popular. So being able to create products so people can experience the product in virtual reality. There's virtual fashion. There are a lot of fashion accessories out there. It doesn't just have to be clothes. There is bag. You can create a bag. You can model a bag. Help a client to advertise a bag and all of that. Then training. Everyone is here because you feel this is something you want to get trained on. I've been training in animation generally for a number of years. So it's also, training is also an area that has a lot of prospects. Okay, social media platforms that help build 3D product animation skills. Now, one of the ways as an artist that I've trained myself, one of the ways I trained myself up to this moment is that I have absorbed a lot, maybe intentionally or unintentionally. You see, when you get more passionate about this craft or any craft, you just see that you find yourself just getting soaked, baptized. You find yourself basking in other people's work. So that time, I would just go on Instagram. Instagram was the software I was using, or the app I was using mostly that time. Please, am I on board? Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yep.
Am I sharing my screen?
We can hear you and you're sharing your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. So one of the things I will do that time is that I'm going to show you some of the pages you can follow. I will just be looking at this guy's work. So they say, wow. And by looking at this guy's work, I was training my mind. I was absorbing, and many of the things I would do, you might call it novel. I might not be able to trace where I got this idea from. It might be different, but I've trained myself from looking at different works, so I'm able to combine these works together in my mind subconsciously. I've seen what looks good, and I've seen what does not look good. You understand? So one of the ways you can be good is that I have something I call Library of Product Animation, and this is it in this place. But I have some other videos I want to add to this place, and I'm going to give you guys access to all of this, so you can use it to baptize yourself in the process, and also use it to draw inspiration when you have 3D product animation works for clients. You can also use it to learn and set a standard for yourself. So what I'm saying is that get exposed. Instead of spending much time, of course, I'm not trying to control your time on how you use your social media, but one good way to use social media is that enjoy your sparks in other people's work. At that time, if you see my Instagram feed, it was just filled up with different product animation works. Not product animation exactly, because I have other interests in animation, but it was just filled with animation. I was just looking. I will go to Behance. LinkedIn is the software I use most these days, and I follow many of them. I'm connected to many of these guys. I see a lot of works, and by seeing those works, I train myself. So expose yourself to platforms. You should be following the best guys in the game. They say if you want to go far, you have to sit on the shoulders of those who have, on the shoulders of giants or something like that. Look at the works other guys. Sometimes even try to replicate it. Try to see what of these guys. By trying to replicate these things, you train yourself. So get exposed. Connect. Send friend requests to people who you see that are good. You don't necessarily have to always connect with experts, but that is good. On your priority list, you should connect with the studios and the guys that are very good, because you can learn from them. But also connect with your friends. So connect. You guys should be following each other by now on social media. That's something we are going to do on the group chat, of course. But we should be following each other. When one person drops a work, connect, comment, give feedback. I have a close friend. That's the friend I was saying that uses Blender. So before I think I started recording this class, and I was like, we both started this journey together. Before putting out my work, I send it to him, and he criticizes my work. Before putting out his work, many times he send it to me. That's our culture. So that's how you grow. This is a game where you need to surround yourself with people. Learn from other people. Download a lot of tutorials. If I see the amount of tutorials I've watched, I believe I will have probably have watched over 1,000 tutorials by now. So be inspired, find artworks, use Pinterest a lot. Pinterest is one of my best friends. I go on Pinterest, sometimes I just even browse through works. I get a lot of inspirations, download images, I have different boards where I store different types of works in. So utilize social media well, utilize Behance. You should be on Behance. Behance is one of the places you get really high quality works. Use Pinterest, use YouTube, especially for tutorial. Use Instagram, use Discord, use LinkedIn. Use these platforms not just to draw inspiration or to connect, but to also find clients. Put out your work little by little. One of the books I will also send, please send me a reminder too. I mentioned 2 books that I would like you guys to read. Number 1 is Win Without Pitching, which helps you very well in negotiating with clients. Another one I want to send to you guys is Show Your Works, which teaches you how you can navigate the space of social media. In fact, I think Show Your Work is going to summarize everything I've just talked about. What's his name? Is it Austin something? I've forgotten the name of the person that wrote Show Your Works, but please send me a reminder, because like I said, I'm a practical guy, but I also believe in reading. Yeah, so see, these are some of the studios this slide was prepared a long time ago. Perhaps I need to update it, but for now, these are some of the guys that you need to be following. Of course, you need to be following us. See, I put my own name up there. But Man versus Machine, those guys are doing wonders. Future Deluxe, very awesome guys. Let me show you a showreel of Future Deluxe before I go ahead. I tried to get a showreel of Man versus Machine, but I didn't get it. So let me just show you Future Deluxe. All right, so I showed you that to just give you a little bit of inspiration. So please follow these guys. Man versus Machine. Sometimes I find myself they don't post full work, so you need to follow them on all other platforms to see some of the things they do. They might not post the full work on Instagram, but Man versus Machine, for instance, initially they were posting the full videos of their works on IG, and sometimes I just scroll. The reason why I'm exposing you to this is that there is a tendency, if you don't expose yourself to the best types of works, there is a tendency for your works to be, I don't want to use the word stale, or to be one directional, or to be boring. I'm showing you all of this because I want you to set high standards for yourselves. These are some of the best guys in the world, and if you want to be the best in the world, you need to actually look at what they are doing, how they are telling their stories. You understand? So please take a look at some of these guys. I have some of their tutorials where they, or not basically tutorials, where they talk about their processes, where they just do those things inspire you. You understand? As a studio, it teaches us. I believe we are. I can rightfully say we are a team right now, at least for the next 1 year. So it teaches you even how to manage workflow within your team. So please, if you need me to send you a picture of this showing these studios I want you all to follow, please send me a message, send me a reminder after the class too. Yeah, top 6 software for 3D product animation. I'm just going to glance through this because of time. So Cinema 4D. This is going to be our software for the class. Cinema 4D is an amazing software. It's almost perfect for this purpose. Cinema 4D is great because of its award-winning MoGraph toolset. Many of the things you see, many of these, all these twisting, all these simulations that you see, not necessarily fire or water simulation, but like abstract simulation and all of that. Cinema 4D makes that very interesting. In fact, Cinema 4D allows you to do so much experiment that with just few clicks you can create some really cool looking things, cool looking shapes. And of course, when you are doing product animation, you want to be able to sell the in-depth features of those products, not just by showcasing the product, but by also using abstract, by using metaphorical symbols to actually showcase what those products do. So you can create complex looking stuff, cool stuff in very little time with Cinema 4D. Blender is also a very great software. Before I started recording this class, we're having some brief sessions. I know this, we have a lot of Blender users here, and like I initially said, though, Blender is a great software. It's one that you actually enjoy for some of these processes. Blender is loved by many because it is a free software. Cinema 4D is a paid software. Blender is loved by many, so it's good for beginners, trying to get into, into this field. But when it comes to industry standard, whenever people want to call industry standard, most of the time you hear them say Cinema 4D. However, I've been hyping Cinema 4D since, but Houdini is one software that is gaining a lot of reputation too. Houdini is the bad boy, like I put it here, is the bad boy for creating fluid simulations such as water, fire, smokes, even beyond this, like for creating things like particles, dynamics, and other cool effects. Houdini is very, very good, and it is very it gives you so much control. I think that's why people like Houdini very much, because of the control it gives them. So you can actually you have much control in terms of creating what you want to get. Autodesk Maya. This particular Yoto Mini work was created in Autodesk Maya. Maya is a very lovely software. It is more popular for character animation, but I think Maya is probably because I started with Maya. I find Maya very easy to use, or let me say iterative. But many people, like when you want to talk about complexity of interface, they always say Maya is difficult. But probably because of my experience, I think Maya is sort of, I find it to be straightforward, and I find it to be enjoyable to use. So that's Maya. 3ds Max. 3ds Max is also created from Autodesk like Maya. It's also a very great software. Many times it's used for visualization. It's very good for modeling too, and it has some really, really nice effects. So Autodesk Maya, to 3D and marvelous designer. So if you are somebody who is interested in in what do they call it, in 3D virtual fashion, this is the software for you. Some things you might even want to create that you think you have to model, you can create things like bags, you can create gloves and other types of clothes. This is a cloth I created. Okay, let me see if I can quickly play that work for you. It's one of the product and virtual fashion works I did, and I think it should be here. Okay, just a minute, please. Okay, what's full? Aha. Alright, so this is something I created using using cinema. I'm sorry guys, I think we'll soon call the class area, because I think we have already spent much time, and that's why I'm mixing my words a little bit. So we at least pause with the recording, then maybe just talk about some other things that are not so serious. Yeah, so if you are very passionate about virtual fashion, and this is also a field that has a lot of potentials, fashion is one area that would never run, that will always be in vogue. So you have people who are trying to, maybe clothing brands that are trying to penetrate the market. You want to create virtual fashion runways. You want to create fashion shows without having to rent a stage or rent an event, or you can actually explore using Cloth Radio and Marvelous Designer. And the thing is even that sometimes you might actually use the software with with some of this other software you use. So maybe you are doing a character animation. Of course, you want to create the clothes. You go to Marvelous Designer and to do all of that. Now, let me say this to round up. I've mentioned these 6 software. However, they are what I call third-party software. Now, third-party software doesn't mean that they don't have their own essential use, but third-party software to the 3D product animation process. One of the software is Substance Designer. I use Substance Designer for most of my works. Maybe when I'm doing a product with flat coloring, yes, I might not use Substance Painter. But when you talk about achieving realistic texturing results, let me quickly show you this again. Something like this bot. You can see the texturing on the bot body, on this drone rather. This was painted in Substance Painter. So by the time we are actually going in, there is Substance Painter, there is Substance Designer, both of which are very important. I think substance designer is more complex and more, gives you a more intricate control. But substance painter is iterative, and I would say it is easy to use from my experience. You can achieve very quick results. It has so many materials that you just drag and drop that makes your model come to life. You understand? So I'm saying this because you have third-party software like Substance Painter. You have third-party software like After Effects. When you see this work, let me quickly play that work again. When you see this work, for instance, now, you see all these leaves falling in the ground. They were not created in Maya or Clue 3D. They were created in in After Effects. And I also mentioned at the earlier stage of the class that your post-production phase, you can add things like text, all of that. You can add sound. You edit your music and many of those things in After Effects or Premiere Pro. Of course, I said you put your music first when starting the animation. So that's why I'm calling them third-party software, because they contribute to the process. Other third-party software you might use are maybe software like ZBrush. I use ZBrush too, but of course ZBrush is for sculpting. But let's say you are trying to achieve a certain result. In fact, ZBrush could be useful for modeling. Many times I'm trying to model organic things, I just take it to Cinema 4D. Of course, you should be able to achieve many of those things in your basic 3D software, 3D modeling software. But Cinema 4D, when you want to sculpt, when you want to play with clay, you can use Cinema 4D. And the good thing now is that Maxon, those are the creators of Cinema 4D. They just bought ZBrush, not just exactly, it has been a while. So they are integrating both software into each other, that you can travel between both of them with ease. You can also sculpt with Cinema 4D, and I'm very much aware that you can sculpt with Blender and achieve all of that. Okay, so that is the end of our class for today, finally. So yes, like I said, the title of our class is what you need to know about 3D product animation, overview, process, and prospects. And I think I've taken you through all of that. We'll use the next 10 minutes to entertain questions. Are there questions you might like to ask? Are there contributions you might like to make from your own experience? So, like I said, this class is supposed to be very interactive. It's not just supposed to be one person speaking. So I'm just going to open the ground for anyone. So Lillian, you are next. You are on board. So what do you think? Questions, contributions? What do you have to say about the class?
Okay, for me it was very informative. I actually like proper orientations like this. So you know exactly what you are going into, especially the part about being clients. I think that's like in all the fields that I work, that's one thing that I believe I really need to work on. And like you said, as a graphic designer, it's not something that will take 2 days. So that was a very useful information that I needed to know. And I've actually learned a lot, like theory-wise. So I know how to plan going forward. It's always nice to know the foundations of things. It helps you know when you just throw yourself into it. So that's been very informative for me. I don't actually have any question.
All right, thank you so much, Lillian. That was thanks for the kind words, and I'm very happy to know that you've gained much from this class. So, Chidima, please. Yeah, next. You have to come on board next.
Thank you. I'm similar to what most people have said. It was very detailed and informative. Like I've learned, my notes are really full. Like I've learned a lot from this. Thank you for the recommendation and the explanation.
Okay, you said your head is really full. I think I should apologize for that. Sorry for making your head really full.
I like it. Yes, I learned a lot.
All right, you're welcome. So, Rachel, how has it been, Rachel? Rachel, are you there? Okay, so how has it been?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Yes.
clearly.
It's been very educative. Like I got to the one aspect that I probably never really thought about was the interaction with clients and how these things go, which is a very important aspect, especially when it has to do with working with consumers and all. So I really learned a lot about how to approach, and it's not just about our creativity. Sometimes we have to also work with the requirements or the needs of clients out there. So I took that to heart. Also, the preliminary of the animation, the pre-production stage, and all. Like there are so many things I got to learn about because most times I just believe you just open your laptop and start working, but like very important pre-production steps that one has to take. So it's this session has been very educative for me. Thank you very much.
Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. Thank you. All right, so Shay, you're next. You're on board.
Yeah, so it's been very insightful, like everyone has said, and part of agreeing on a script with the clients beforehand, that is also something good to know so that they are aware of what is going on and you're not wasting your time. And also, like you said, keeping in touch with the best guys, following their works, like can help you upgrade your work too, because that's something that we're trying to do at mine as well. So it's not looking stagnant or just normal. But it's been good. I learned a lot. Thank you.